As a cradle Catholic, I was very blessed to be raised by two disciples of Jesus Christ. And so from about birth to age 11, I lived in really what might be termed a Catholic cocoon. I really did sincerely believe in Jesus. I believed that he had become man, that he had died on the cross to save me from my sins, rose from the dead. I believed that he'd founded the Catholic Church. At age 11, I started going with my mom to Eucharistic adoration. She would go once a week and spend an hour in prayer before the Lord. And at about the same time, she also gave me a book. It wasn't a particularly profound book. It was a storybook, really, just telling the stories of Mary's apparitions throughout history. So after reading this book, I really just wanted Mary to appear to me, and I started praying very ardently that she would. And I remember thinking, even at that young of an age, I really believe this, but if Mary were to appear to me, it would be the evidence that I need that really and truly this is all true. Well, of course, Mary didn't appear to me, but I continued to go with my mom to Eucharistic adoration. One week while I was there, an older woman in the pew in front of us turned around and said to me, "If you come back tomorrow, you're going to see something incredible." For whatever reason, we couldn't go back the next day, and I thought I missed her. I remember praying, "Lord, just let me see whatever it was that I would have seen if I had been here last week, that second day." And I looked up and saw the Eucharist in the monstrance, and at that moment, it just crystallized for me with a clarity that I still really can't believe occurred, that the Eucharist was really Jesus' body, blood, soul, and divinity. And I still don't necessarily know why he gave me the grace of understanding that so completely and so totally at so young an age, but I suspect now that it's because he knew that I would have kind of a bit of a wandering in the desert after that point. A couple years later, I went to public school for the first time in my life, and I was in an area of the country where Catholics aren't predominant, and so I found myself challenged about questions from peers about the faith, and kind of had to become a little mini apologist at also a very early age. And whatever challenges I thought I had faced before college were amplified by my experience at a very secular university. I found myself surrounded by highly intelligent professors and peers, many of whom were very outspoken about the fact that they were either atheist or agnostic. At one point, I remember sitting in a class with a professor and having the professor just flat out say that religion was nothing but a societal construct, that it was a man-made comfort mechanism. And that term, for whatever reason, really rubbed me the wrong way. And I just said, how is it comforting if it's not true? My question was, why would I just delude myself? A delusion maybe can be comforting temporarily, but in the long term, I know that I'm going to be less comfortable living in a lie than I would be living in the truth, and I really wanted to know the truth. I needed to really study this and determine for myself whether I actually believed in God, and specifically, not just did I believe in a creator, but did I believe in a personal God who loved me and then who would reveal himself in the many ways that we believe that he has. And so I kind of just started this journey of study. And at the same exact time, I started dating someone who was Christian but not Catholic. He was also kind of re-examining his own religious assumptions. And at times, he was able to offer me new insights into Scripture, but other times he would actually kind of create more doubts by the questions that he was raising. Really, a dating relationship just wasn't the proper context for the work of discernment I was trying to do. And those 4 years, honestly, just felt really long, and I remember feeling just a lot of despair and feeling to myself like there really wasn't a lot of meaning if none of this was true. If this was all there was, if I was just created to live and die for, maybe if I'm doing well, 90 years, then really what was the point of everything? And so throughout all of this, I kept going to Mass, I kept going to Eucharistic adoration, I kept praying, and really I poured my heart out in a series of 4 different journals, just asking the Lord to reveal the truth to me. So it was a little bit paradoxical in the sense that on the one hand, I wasn't even sure whether I believed in him and in the teachings of the church, and on the other hand, I was relying on him to guide me through all of the doubt that I was experiencing. But things really began to change for me. I really began to kind of see more clearly once I graduated, and I moved far away. And the Lord just really surrounded me with Catholics in the new place that I was living. And one of them was a coworker who literally, when I told him that I was a cradle Catholic who was really questioning my faith and wasn't really sure what I believed, literally pounded my desk and said, no, I will not let you walk away from this church that I've spent my entire life looking for and you've had and taken for granted. And it just kind of jarred me and woke me up and made me feel a little bit ashamed and made me think, well, what is it that you've learned that I haven't? And so he invited me to come with him to these faith discussion dinners, which for somebody who was already immersed in all this was just incredibly helpful to be able to sit with. They would invite an expert in different issues, and we could ask that expert any question we wanted. Throughout all of this time, as I questioned really every detail of the church, for some reason, I never questioned that fantastical teaching that that a piece of bread was really Jesus' body, blood, soul, and divinity. And again, there was probably some cognitive or some lack of logic there that I could be doubting some things and not doubt that specific thing, but I really, really never doubted because I had experienced Christ in the Eucharist and I knew that he was really present in the Eucharist. About that time, I started reading a lot of books, searching scripture, and having some in-depth discussions with the people that the Lord was placing in my life, and ultimately found many of the answers I was seeking. A huge turning point for me came when my brother got engaged and then eventually got married. I came home for his wedding. At the precise point when the priest was giving each of them the Eucharist, the girl, another bridesmaid, leaned over to me and just said, "You're so lucky that you'll get to do that with your husband someday." And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, if I don't marry a Catholic, I won't be able to do that. And the Eucharist having always been as important to me as it was, I remember feeling just heartbroken at that thought and thinking that I couldn't imagine marrying someone who didn't share that belief, that Jesus, when he said he would be with us always, meant it not just in an abstract way, but in a very physical way, that he would be here with us always. And so I knew that I was going to have to make a decision at that point. And so I remember being kind of scared and thinking, what if I never get married? But I made the decision to break up with the boy that I was dating. And I remember the very, very next day feeling the most profound peace. I woke up, I went to daily Mass, I just sat again in the pew, looking up at the altar and just thinking, as long as I have Jesus, I will be okay. And nothing else will matter. As soon as I was willing to kind of do without anything else, the blessings just kind of started to pour in. And shortly after that, I had new job opportunities. I ended up moving home, which was a blessing in and of itself, to be near family again. I met my husband in relatively short order after all of that. We dated, got married relatively quickly. A year and a half later, we're expecting our first baby. And just, to me, it's so incredible to think the way that the Lord really does bless those who are faithful to him in such a wide variety of ways. I know that some young people are really intrigued and attracted to other faiths that promise the possibility of a personal relationship with Jesus. And I guess what I want to just say is that not only can we have that as Catholics, but we can actually experience Christ's presence. In the Eucharist, we can actually touch Jesus and be in his presence here and now. That's what I love about being Catholic. Right before I was about to move home, the Lord gave me a scripture from Deuteronomy 8. This chapter is basically when the Israelites are about to enter the land of Canaan. And God says to all of them, when you do enter this promised land that you've been waiting so long to enter, and you have your fill of milk and honey, and your livestock are doing well, and you have your homes and your families are flourishing, all these things, do not forget the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, who brought you out of slavery. And I had been really a slave to my own doubt for so long, and it was just grace that delivered me from it and enabled me to believe that God had created me and that He had revealed Himself to me. And from that moment on, I remember thinking, whether I continue to experience these blessings or whether at some point I'm given another cross, I will not forget the Lord, because I know that He did save me in that time of doubt and really even verging on despair. I am Tina Dzurisin, and I am Catholic.